Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom now. I'm joined by Gearbox's Randy Varnell, head of world development.
Good job.
Almost got the whole way there. We're going to talk about Borderlands 3,
Yes, we are.
which I got to play for quite a few hours, and I had a ton of fun.
Oh, great.
I think it's very interesting because in terms of the formula, it sticks kind of close to home. In terms of what Borderlands 1 and 2 did, your fan base is super excited about that, but I did notice a few new features like sliding, for example.
Yes.
What other new features are coming to Borderlands 3?
We did a lot of quality of life stuff. Of course, sliding, you talk about like movement. Mantling is a big one. For the first time, you can climb up on all the top of the boxes and crates around the world and do stuff. We did some cool even combo stuff with that. Like you can slide. Now, we've always had like the explosive barrels, but you can actually slide into the explosive barrel and kick them into the air and then shoot them in the air. Yeah, all of the quality of life stuff like that. Other new features, I mean, it really is like we rebuilt the gun system from the ground up. I know we're going to talk about guns a little bit more in detail, but holy shit, dude. Sorry, I don't even say that, but man, we did so much with the guns to really build them back up, create new archetypes in that, make the manufacturers even better than they were before. And since we build them from new, like they feel tighter, they feel more precise. They're just, I don't know. I played a lot of Borderlands 2 even after I worked on it with the team, but just the whole thing feels like a fresh new game. And I think that's really important for Borderlands because we don't want to lose the things that are cool, right? We don't want to lose the style. We don't want to lose the humor. We don't want to lose the fast action. We don't want to lose certainly the amount of loot that we have and procedural guns and shields and grenades and all of that. But everything is just juiced up to 11 on this one. And I think you're going to find a lot of different variety in gameplay.
I confessed to you earlier that I played on a controller for the demo. I'm a mouse and keyboard guy, so it was difficult for me to like discern whether or not the shooting felt new and great, but it's really good to hear that you've done a lot of work on it. In terms of the gun manufacturers, in that respect, I was blown away by the amount of unique animations, unique weapon archetypes. How many unique weapon archetypes are there in a ballpark figure? I know there's got to be absolutely tons, but you guys have been iterating on this for so much time. Right.
So I always have to do the weird math here because, when we actually, the number we've used to the fans, like there are billions of guns, and that's a true number. We haven't talked, for legal reasons, we won't talk about the real number, but you get to the crazy math point when you start to work in a procedural system that there are tons and tons and tons of that. But I love your question because you're asking, what are the archetypes? What are the meaningful different types of that? And you can do some simple math of like, well, you've got shotgun, SMG, pistol, sniper rifle, heavy weapon, and all that times 9 or 10 weapon manufacturers. You're like 50 or 60 just core archetypes. But even then, when you get to things like we've added the alternate firing mode in a lot of guns, so even that adds in. Like one of my favorite new things that we added, we snuck into Torg, like Torg shotguns. Like Torg has always shot explosive grenades. You can get shotguns now that have an alternate fire mode that do sticky grenades that all explode when you reload. So one of my favorite playthroughs recently has been going through, doing the sticky grenades, sticking it around enemies' heads, and then boom, the big explosion to really take out big enemies. And there's some really cool stuff. So hundreds, it's hard to say, but a lot more meaningful archetypes than there were in Borderlands 2.
I believe it. I think I saw 3 unique shotgun archetypes in the preview that I played just for Jacobs, which was a pump action, an over-under, and a triple barrel.
That's right.
Wow, that's nuts. What we're seeing on screen right now is Proving Grounds. You're here at Gamescom talking about Proving Grounds. What is Proving Grounds? Is this kind of like a Diablo 3 Rift randomization thing, or is it a more static challenge than that? When do you unlock it during the game, and what is it meant to evoke?
Yeah, so it's kind of somewhere between those two things. I mean, we definitely understand that like fans of Borderlands, like Borderlands 2, people have continued to play that game, and we've spent a lot of time watching the type of advanced and in-game content that those guys like. So what we wanted to do is provide different types of challenges and kind of different game modes that, like, if you needed a break from story content or wanted some other different challenge, a different way to get loot, that's what this is. So you're going to feel a little bit of that Rift design in there, but what it is you see on kind of on the side, this is the trial of survival. And you've got a time limit on the overall proving ground, kind of like you would with the Rift. But you're going to go in there and you've got these challenges over there, and for every one of those challenges that you complete, you're going to get a different grade and different types of loot that are going to drop in the game. So better rewards, better ways to test yourself. Of course, you're going to need better loot to hit some of, like, you see the ones that are like time challenges, 15 minutes, 17 minutes in there. You're going to need better gear and better skills and higher player levels to hit some of those challenges. Some of these get really difficult. But the big thing that's cool to me about the Proving Grounds is it's actually kind of encased in the narrative of the game, right? This is it taps into Iridian lore, and what you're going to do is while you're playing the overall game, you're going to find these hidden Iridian writings. You're going to get a translator for that, and you're going to start to dig in and hear the secrets of this ancient alien race that's been around there. Eventually, that's going to lead to unlocking a proving ground, which is a trial, a combat challenge the Iridian have left for the player to kind of prove themselves worthy for things I won't completely spoil right now, but to prove themselves worthy to the ancient lost Iridians.
You're also bringing back Circle of Slaughter, but I actually want to talk about rarity, which you mentioned briefly. I picked up a couple legendary weapons, and they felt absolutely badass. So I have a question for you, which is legendary weapon rarities that confer some kind of unique archetypes. So it was like, this legendary weapon the same as this other legendary weapon, or is that all still randomized as well?
It's very random. Like, legendaries are definitely kind of that top tier of loot, and every legendary, while there is some procedural nature, almost every legendary is custom crafted for where it drops, the boss it drops from, or the type of reward it's in. We do have some generals in there, but legendaries definitely have a custom look. We actually add weapon skins in Borderlands 2. Legendaries have their own special weapon skins that come in there. They will look distinct, they'll look really cool, and they definitely have very specially crafted and tweaked gameplay for that, just like Borderlands 2. But even then, you can definitely find legendaries that are in the kind of the same archetype of gun, with different skill levels, different levels. You can come back, play the same boss later, get the higher level version of that. So there's still a little bit of randomness in it, but they are a little bit more kind of custom crafted for the experience.
Gotcha. At launch, every Borderlands game has had 4 character classes. This time around, it's Flak, Zane, Amara, and Moze. Can you take us through the cast and tell us what they're all about in terms of style and in terms of mechanics?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really proud of this group because I think we've done a really good job of digging in and making them super different. So I start with Amara, the Siren, because she's, you've seen images of her running around with her arms that stick out around her. So our Sirens are kind of like, in our sci-fi universe, they're almost the wizards, the magic users, the Jedi of our universe, so to speak, right? So Amara as a Siren has these mystical powers that she uses, and she has some familiar Siren gameplay. Like you see her phase grasping and holding enemies in a bubble, so she has some control gameplay, almost like Maya did in Borderlands 2. But she also has some ability like projectile power. She has an ability called phase slam, where she jumps up in the air and does a big fist pound on the ground. So Amara's a little bit more close up. She can play closer there. She's a little bit more of a brawler, so to speak. So she's really great. You want to get with submachine guns and shotguns and play in close. So she's our Siren. Zane.
Yes, Beastmaster.
Zane is our operative. He's
Zane.
the kind of Zane.
Flak.
I almost said Flak.
Oh, here comes Flak.
I'm going to go hold Flak.
Of.
Flak's coming.
Yes.
So Zane, our operative, is kind of the spy. He's the gadgeteer. He's worked for everyone. He has a drone that goes out and can do different things. He can attack enemies. He can revive players. He has a shield that he can put out that you can turn it into like a bastion. Will do all sorts of stuff for your team. But the coolest thing is he's got a digiclone. Like there's Zane right there on the screen. When Zane comes out, you can do a digiclone where he sends out a clone of himself that you can trade places with at the touch of a button on that. So again, you can kind of play proximity with enemies. He's really cool there. I love this with Zane.
What a bad dude.
The next one we'll talk about, we actually revealed at E3, was Moze. Moze is our gunner character, and we always want a character that is like Axton in Borderlands 2, that's kind of the soldier that people can really relate. But Moze has that really special thing, and it's Iron Bear. Iron Bear, you're going to see it. I love this video. Moze came from a squad, a Vladov squad of groups, basically a whole mech squadron. And they all get, in fact, this is a great little short for Moze that talks about how the squadron's killed off and she's left with just her and Iron Bear. And it's not only her action skill. So Iron Bear's a full-on mech. And we did things, there were hard points in the mech. And part of her action skill is you can take out and you can put on, miniguns, grenade launchers, you can put on a flamethrower, you can actually do like the Rock'em Sock'em Robot
player
fists.
can jump on the turret, right?
So there's a special ability that you can do that's called Duggan Bear, right, where a co-op player can jump on the back and ride a turret while you're still doing all of the other stuff in Iron Bear. It really kind of fulfills that promise of like co-op is great, but Moze is really about that mech promise in a gameplay, and it's kind of new to Borderlands, and it feels really cool. And lastly, Flak.
Yes.
We just have started talking about Flak. Flak, the Beastmaster, and Flak may be my starting character for Borderlands. Flak is a absolute true pet class. We had Gage, the Necromancer in Borderlands 2, and Gage was really cool. Death Trap, you push a button, Death Trap flies out and do that. Flak, the pets never go away unless they die. Don't let them die because you're the Beastmaster. You need to take care of your beast, right? But Flak has a choice between 3 different pets. You've got the Skag, the Spider Ant, and then one of our new creatures, the Jabber, which is a little monkey-like guy that has a gun and all that. But Flak can order their pet to go out and attack. You can Gamma Burst up and like Super Hulk out your pet.
Yeah.
You can actually, Flak can also take, if you want to let the pet do the work, Flak can take a stealth ability and kind of lurk in the background, almost like Zero in Borderlands 2. And then Flak also has pocket racks. So the racks, the birds that go out there, and a little bit of reminiscent of Mordecai from back in Borderlands 1.
I got the vibe. He's got 2 charges of them though, and they shoot out too, so it's just like on steroids.
And home, they're really cool. But Flak is really, really, really great. I think fans are going to adore Flak and the pets we've done. You can literally, by the way, to confirm, yes, you can pet your pets.
Oh,
they interact with that. So we really wanted that experience to be cool, and Flak to show that symbiotic relationship with the pets.
Shout out to Ken,
really
Pet
awesome.
the Dog Twitter. You can in Borderlands 3, so that's very exciting. Something
cool.
that we've already touched on, but just to kind of elaborate on, each of these classes has 3 action skills, which is something unique to Borderlands 3. So
that's correct.
What have you done in terms of skills and progression and builds? How granular can I get?
There's a lot more options in Borderlands 3 than there was in Borderlands 2. So you mentioned like every Vault Hunter, every one of our player characters has 3 action skills. Now you choose which one of those 3 at any point. You can actually swap those out at any time. So if you have different combats coming up, you want to change that, that's great. Those skills also have a thing that we call augments. And the augments are different things that you can unlock that you can put, like, for example, Amara is a good one. If you take like the ground slam, the face slam that you can have, you can choose which element that she is hitting with in Borderlands, whether it's fire or cold or lightning or whatever. You can change that up for Amara so it can adapt it to a circumstance. We still have all of the great passive abilities we've always had, so additional skills that you can take and unlock and pump up, and those are a little bit more locked in. You can still go and respec at a new use station like you did, but yeah, you have a lot of different ways, both in more of kind of the passive ability, but also in just swapping that out. And every Vault Hunter does it a little bit differently, right? Moe's, it's the hard points on the mech. With Flak, it's the pets and what you do with them. With Amara, it really is, adding elemental type and damage and all that. Zane, really cool. Zane, you can actually sacrifice your grenade slot and run 2 action skills at once. So you actually have 2 action skill buttons.
That's nuts.
And so if you want to have like drone and shield or shield and digiclone, you have to give up a little bit of that grenade, but oh my gosh, it's a really cool way to kind of min-max Zane and get the most out of him, and I think players are really going to dig that.
Can you play offline?
You absolutely can play offline in Borderlands. Like we really want to be sure with Borderlands. We always want to be sure that you can play however you want to play. So we support offline play, single player. We play offline player, 2-player split screen. We still support split screen there, right? And then if you want to play more than 2 players and you want to play with other buddies, you need to go online, and you can play up to 4-player co-op online with your friends.
Fantastic. As a follow-up to that, are you concerned at all about cheating when character files are locally stored on PC especially? It's very easy to kind of manipulate those. Is that something you care about, or is it kind of a, hey, you're choosing who you play with anyway, so play the game how you want?
We kind of prioritize play the game how you want. I mean, we take some basic measures to be sure that the cheating isn't easy, because I think a lot of players don't recognize. Like sometimes it's fun to do that. Like we've all hacked the game before, and got it and up the numbers a little bit, right? But honestly, we want the gameplay experience to be really good, and Borderlands is such a game of loot and growth and accomplishment. We want players to have that experience. So we do take some steps to do that, but because we're not a competitive game and we're not a game that really has leaderboards and all that in there, we want to be sure that players have fun more than anything else.
Gotcha. I was going to ask about boss mechanics, but let me just go on record and say they're really good so far from what I've played, because we are running short on time. And having the head of world development here, I have to ask you about the narrative. So tell me about the antagonists, tell me about the new characters, the returning characters, and specifically the Calypso twins. What's their deal?
Yeah, so following up Handsome Jack has been a big challenge for us, and I think we finally hit the nail on the head. The Calypso twins are really cool. We love those relatable villains. We love the villains that when you get in, you kind of see them, and it almost like there's a little bit of that rip from the headlines. But what we really liked about Handsome Jack is their interface and talking. So the Calypso twins are live streamers. We imagine, like, in this world where streaming and influencers are such a predominant part of our culture, in gaming culture and media right now, what would happen if someone someone took that immense amount of influence and fan base and turned it to malicious intent. You know, what happened if you militarize fans and do something bad with it? So the Calypso twins have done the impossible. For the first time ever, they've unified all of the bandits on Pandora into and now they're no longer bandits, they're called the Children of the Vault. And the Calypsos are using that massive group to actually do what we've always done and hunt vaults and find those treasures and gather that power to themselves. I don't want to spoil too much from there, but they are definitely a part of that right from the beginning of the game. They actually have stolen a vault key that you have to recover right at the beginning. That's how Borderlands 3 kicks off. Really just a continuation of the story from Borderlands 2 and right there in your face from the very start.
Randy, thank you so much. You were right about the live streaming. I think when in any service that exists on Earth, they'd be banned in terms of the terms of service. But
oh, that's right. Without a doubt.
On Pandora, they do some messed up stuff on the live streams. That was Borderlands 3, but don't go anywhere. We've got a lot more coming up on IGN at Gamescom now, like Marvel's The Avengers. So stick around.